Hey everybody, Hot Damn here. Wanted to give you an overview of the Highlands map. This is one that I've avoided in the past because I've heard rumors that it might be chopped up into pieces, but it hasn't been so far. So we're going to go ahead and go through it so that you have an idea of what you're looking at. This map is huge compared to all the other maps. We now have two base maps, the original 3-base canyon map, and this map has a 4-base map. So let's get into it. Real quick, looking at the map, you can see you start off in kind of a north-south spawn configuration here. On the north side, so I'm closer to A over here. A is what I call the UFO crash site, where D on this side is more of an industrial complex. C on the southwest side is like a sort of an underground city. And B is this gigantic tower in the middle that has a death beam that shoots up, and you'll hear warnings and everything else. If you're using the ramp to get up, particularly to go kill the generators along the way, the laser might give you trouble. Most of the time it's just there for show. You can also see spawn points all around the map. They have 6 different spawn points. S6 is way back here behind D. 5 is kind of over here in front of it. 1, 2, and 4 are all surrounding B. S4 in particular is a good one. You can see a lot of the B gens from it and be able to shell. S2 is a good one because it's kind of higher up. It gives you a good point of view. Not quite as good as being on top of B, but a pretty good point of view on what's going on around B. S1 is really low, right up next to B. And then S3 is kind of over here, the one meant to get to C easier. So let's get into it. We're going to go, so we'll go in order. So we'll spawn in and we'll go to A first.
Executing launch deploy sequence.
You can see when you spawn in, you saw a brief view of B right here. So where you spawn in from this side, move toward A first. So there's a lot of these little valleys and ridges all over the place. You can see this one looks kind of maybe volcanic. So to start with, you're coming in from this side. We can see a Gen 1 and Gen 4 showing up. You'll see our first teleporter right here. This one goes over to D. And there's also a teleporter in the front. This one goes to B. Now the interesting thing about B teleporters from each base, let me see if I can zoom in right here. So around B, which we'll get to next, but you can see this teleporter right here. So in the direction of every base other than B, there's a teleporter that goes close to it. So this one's going to go to A, and this is D down here, so this one's going to go to D, and here's C down here, so this one's going to go to C. So that's an interesting thing to keep up with. There's a few teleporters up here in the middle. Some of them kind of bounce you up to mid-tiers on the B. You hear that siren, that's what the laser is at B that's about to go off. And then there's some that'll get you from the bottom and top to B. So looking over here at A, you can see where the gens are. Gens, A is not my favorite base to move around in. There's kind of Gen 3 is sort of on the bottom here. And the A platform is really hard to get to if you're not going vertical and kind of jumping. So you've got 2 gens that can really be accessed near the top, 3 at the bottom, and then 1 over here sort of in the middle of those. So let's look at that. So if we come in, let's go look at 3 first. Let's move around this way. So you can see 3 is really easy to get to from the bottom. He's in there. And then 1 right here is just 1 flight up. Here's you another A teleporter inside this building. I'm sorry, 2 flights up. There you go. So there's Gen 1. So what I would say, 3 is on the bottom, 1's kind of in the middle. But you see 2 is over here on this platform up here, and then 4 is up there. So really, I kind of connect these two as 3 and 1 kind of go together. So the bottom and middle, and then 2 and 4 more so up here at the top. So a lot of times when I get to here, I'm going to bounce, and it's a little difficult in a light because I shoot all over the place. But you can see getting up here, how I can get to Gen 4, which is up over here, and Gen 2, you can shoot from this platform right here. And then when you want to get up to the capture point, you're trying to do it from inside the base. Now you're up on the platform, which will get you to A. And you can capture up here. So that's how I make those connections. The 2 and 4 up here at the top go together, 1 and 3 more at the bottom go together. So if you don't think of it like that, there's a couple of teleporters back over here. I think there's one up on that ridge over there. And there's one right here that goes to C. So we said we were going to go in order, so we're going to go over to B next, and then we'll look at the teleporters after that. There are a ton of teleporters on this map. So let's hop over B. So you see B is this huge tower. You see the laser is not going off at the moment, but if it were, it would be a big beam in the middle of that. This is probably the best brawling location if you want to have fights. B is kind of where that tends to go down on this map. A lot of people like to hang out here at the bottom and fight each other, but you can see how massive this tower is, and you also see 1, 2, and Gen 4 are all on the towers. 1, in fact, is the very tippy top. He's a really pain in the butt to get to, but you can get there. There's a few easy ways to do it. One easy way to do it. You can make the big jump to get there, or you can use the ramp and go up from the capture point. The capture point is actually lower than the highest gen. Here's the other gen, Gen 3 sitting at the bottom. So notice I said S4 gives you really good positioning to be able to see everything. Oop, and I flat-footed that jump, so I'm not going to see everything. This will work though. So you'll be able to see right there. Oh, let's see, we'll be able to see the beam go off here, but you can see there's the beam. You get in that, it's done as you're dead. It does give you warning, and there's no real good reason to be caught in there, but it is a thing. So you can see Gen 2 right there. You can see Gen 4 here. You can see Gen 3 here. You can see it a little bit better if you're over at S4. And 1 is just way up there. Let me show you the most important teleporter on the map. At B, all you have to do is go up 1 level on the tower. It's over around this side. This guy right here is going to take you to the B capture. Now, why is this the most important? Because from here you can see pretty much everything on the map, and if you're playing a knight like Izzy that can throw the katana, which I'll show you, let's see. You can see me throwing my hologram katana, which allows me to capture that. If you can get up here early game, you can capture a lot of these spawn points. You can see S2, you can see S3, you can see D, which you could capture. You could see, where am I at? You cannot see C from here, but in a light, see the hole right there? I can actually jump from up here and land right in that hole and land really close or right on the C capture point. You can see the A capture point where we were just at. There's Gen 2 and Gen 4 we were looking at. You can see S4 from here. So really commanding view. You can see everything from up here, and you can tag anything up here, let's say a katana, except for base C. Maybe a couple of these spawns in the back. And you can see that spawn. Yeah, we can't see, I think S6 is the one back there behind D. You can't see that one. But I mean, you could just see from this one point, if you wanted to snipe, you could snipe up here. You could try and hold B just to have sort of this commanding point of being able to jump in. You could come up here and drop torchlight, so your team could spawn in on this point, and then they could jump off from here and go to different places if they were running lights and things like that. So just a great place to be, and a great thing to fight over, especially in the early game. You'll see a lot of people push on B. You can see the ramps that continue up. They're going to take you all the way up if you want to get to Gen 1 way at the top. So that is a thing. I don't really ever go up there unless I have to, because it takes a little bit to get up there. The only thing up there is turbo pad and Gen 1, and then you're going to want to be down here anyway, so unless I have to, I don't ever really go up there, but it's there. So that's pretty much everything on base B. A is over here. Here's C. Remember I told you can hit that spot. Here we go, and you'll see a couple teleporters up here on the ridge. What what I call it, the Sea Ridge. But, and there we go, right there. Entered right next to it. So there's your sea capture point. This space right here seems kind of confusing at the beginning. I was pretty confused in the first few games I played, but it's not too bad if you stop and really look at it. So orient everything from the sea capture point. So when we drop in the holes up here, you know, figure out where C is. So you got Gen 1 is in this room right here. And there's a teleporter up on top of there that can take you in here too. That's a good one. So you got Gen 1, come over this ramp, you're looking at the sea capture point. You've got Gen 2 is up above. So if I come up these ramps up here, think of Gen 2 as kind of being on top of the capture point. So right there. So pretty easy. And then 3 and 4 are even simpler from the capture point. Because if you come over here, 3 is right here in this building. You can actually shoot it from the capture point. And 4 is in this building right here. Now the only trick with this is getting over these pipes, because you can't get stuck in this little space between the pipes where they separate. I tend to go on this left side. And it may be easier for a lance that isn't a light, but for a light you can't get stuck in there, and you can see Gen 4 right there. So if you're up here by sea capture point, you can really get to all 4 gens very easily. There are a couple of turbo pads and teleporters down here. There's one up here, and then right here is another turbo pad. So that's pretty much everything in C. It's a bit confusing, especially if you're down here on the ground and you're looking around. There's a lot of neon going on, and it does look like a cityscape. It can be hard to figure out, okay, where am I going with these to get into these little rooms, buildings to get to C. But if you can get up there on the C platform, however you can do it, Mordred jump, whatever, it becomes much easier, and you can move from up to down instead of trying to fight your way from down to up. Okay, let's go over to D. Let's see, this will get us up to the ridge. This one will get us to D. Okay, so that was C, that's the city base. So D, let's go outside. Let's start outside, because D, I would say, is almost as confusing as C. And we'll come out here and kind of look at D from the front. You can see B right there. B is our big tower that's in the middle. So D, if you're looking on the map, so we're done on A, we're way down here. D looks kind of the most imposing of everything, because see how spread out it is? It's just sort of all over the place. And it feels that way if you don't know your way around it and you're moving around, but it's not too bad. Start off with, there's a couple teleporters out here on the bottom. There's also one, this is probably one of the more important teleporters for C. Remember I told you there's a teleporter right above. Let's see, here's C right here. So there's Gen 1 right below us. If I come over here, this is where we dropped in when we came down. So if I come down there, I go up to C. So 2's there. The one that we could shoot, 3 is back there. The one we could shoot from C. And then the one we cross the pipes right there. And 4's over here. So this is a great teleporter to go from D to C. And if you had just taken D, for instance, you could do a flat-footed jump or a big jump if you were in heavier lance to get over to this one straight in front of the base. So great teleporter for that. But going back to the D base, D starts out, there's Gen 1 way down here at the bottom. He's sort of out here by himself. And then you've got 3 and 2, I believe, are the 2 that are on the inside. And 4 is kind of up by himself at the top. Let's jump back over here. Yeah, so there's 4. There's another teleporter on the very bottom of D that'll land you up there. We're going to look at that in a second. But all you're going to do when you hit it is you're going to come down here and you're going to drop in. So here's 4. And then if you come down, you're going to come down to 3 and 2 in here. So here's 3. And right around the corner is 2 right there. So 2 is kind of where this inside section of D is. This is probably the part that'll confuse the most people because you get in here and kind of get lost, and there's a few teleporters in here. You can see here's a C, and here's an A over here. But Gen 2 behind it will actually land you over at S6. So if your team happens to take S6 and you spawn in on it, you're going to be in the back of the D base. So you can see on the map, we're way back off over here. So you can see S6 to 2, there's 3. So 2 and 3 kind of go together. 4 was the one up at the top. 1's the one way down at the bottom. You can see teleporters and spawns all over the place. S5. There's another spawn up by S5, but I think it's broken at the moment, so we're not going to go up there. So going back in here, this is where I find it to get the most confusing because you think a lot of these little ramps and stuff are going to go places, and they don't. Really, the only things in here that are important are Gen 2, these 2 teleporters, and then you want to get out of here. You can go up here. So you can see the D capture point is up here. It's a little hard to hit if you're in light armor like this. You're going to do a big jump over that. If you were portrait, you could just pop right over that corner. So getting up and around here can be a little tricky. But if I come all over here, there you go. So capture point, 2 and 3 are connected. 4's up here. So you can ramp your way up between 2, 3, and 4. 1's really the only one over there at the bottom that's going to give you a lot of trouble. And then that's pretty easy to get the capture point. Just don't get back there by Gen 2 and get confused. And you can see there's going to be teleporters all over the place here. So let's go down to the bottom here. So you're going to see a D teleporter and a B teleporter. The B teleporter is going to bring you up on sort of one of the middle sections of the tower. So you can see I'm probably like 4 flights up. There's S1 down there. I can continue up and go hit some gens. There's S4 right there. If you wanted to go grab S4, you can see right above us, like 1 floor is 4. You can see 2's on the way up there. So I don't use this one very much, but it is there. Oh, I'm going to go back to because there you can see the beam. I'll step in order. Alright, so back over here. D, this is the one, so if I were coming in the base and I ended up, for whatever reason, I jumped flat and ended up at the bottom, this would probably be the one that I would run to, because D is going to take you up over to the side of Gen 4. So you can see D in this direction. So let's come around right here, and this is going to drop you right where we went in. And there's Gen 4. So nice little rock outcropping over there. Gen 4 is there. We can get down to 2 and 3, or we could do 4, or we can come over here and go to the capture point. So that one's super useful if you end up on the bottom. It just pops you to the top, over to the side. You can pop back down. There's our nice little teleporter we looked at the beginning that goes over to C. Super useful. So let's go inside. You may think this goes somewhere great, but really its whole purpose is to drop you back here where Gen 2 is. There's Gen 2 kind of in this labyrinth section. Let's go look at this C. This C is going to take us to the ridge. So over here, remember when we were down in C and we took the teleporter up to the ridge, we popped up right here, and then we came over here, and this put us inside the Gen 2 room, inside D. And then coming over here, this one's going to go to A. So remember when we very first jumped in the game, we came in, and the very first teleporter we saw was this D one. That's going to take us to the side of A. So we spawned in over here, went through this little path. This is the very first teleporter we saw on this map. There are a couple more around here. Let's see, we looked at that, There's one in a 2 spot here. Yeah. So here's your B one. It's it's going to take you to, remember the edge where I told you B right here has the 3 edge teleporters. So the one to D right here goes to the D side at B. So that's where we landed. We're on the D direction, but at the B base. So that's pretty much it for D. And looking at B, you come over here, you're looking, this is the one that's going to go towards C. Let's see where this one lands us. Okay, so this one is right by, if I can get up there. There we go. So remember the C capture point, we could see this gen right here. So if we were to go toward that gen room, and let's say we wanted to go in there and shoot instead of shooting from a distance, we would actually pass this B teleporter on the way to get to this gen or a jail. Excuse me. So back to B, and see B has a lot of jump right in and around, hide. It also has turbo pad, which is nice if you're like me and you skim too much. So now we're moving toward the A, so our A teleporter right here. There you go. Back over here. So this one, remember the very first teleporter we saw was right here at A. Kind of skimmed over to the side, showed you the other one. That's what this one goes to. If I can get away from the rocks. So that puts us back at B on the A side, A direction. For other teleporters at A, a lot of these bounce around A. So we'll go back over there. If I can stay still. So let's go over here. So notice I can pretty much flat foot jump on that one. So there's a C teleporter down here from A. We're at the A base now. Back off on this side. So we're right next to Gen 3. Right there. That's that low gen. So in C now, we're kind of this northernmost side over here. And once again, when you're in C, don't get confused or lost. Orient yourself to where the base is, or where the capture point is, rather. Capture point's up on there. So here's my C teleporter. So going back, okay. So now I'm looking at C. So there's Gen 2 up above it. Here's the generator with the teleporter over it. We came from that way. Here's the pipes that we would cross over to get to this one. And Gen 3 is the one we can shoot from the teleporter, or from the capture point. So now we're back on the west side of A right here. And here's a C teleporter up here. This lands us on the western side above the 2. You can see we're above the capture point. So the generator that's above the capture point C, we're above that going to this one. I think that's most of them at A. So the ones I normally use. We did these two. There's one back way over here. Let's see if we can get to it. Down or if it's up. It's map. Turbocharger. Where are you at? Gen 1. Yeah, so lots of teleporters moving around, lots of space moving around. Like I said, biggest map. Or just remember, A is the UFOs. And it's got 2 kind of at the bottom, 1 in the middle, 1 at the bottom, and 2 at the top. 2 at the top is what's going to get you to the capture point. B has the teleporters all around the edge that go toward it, and that B teleporter 1 level up on the tower that'll get you up to the capture point on the tower, which is a commanding view of pretty much everything. C is your city base. I showed you orient yourself to C, and you can kind of see all the other generators. You got 1 above it. You got 1 that you can shoot 3 from it. 4, you just go across those pipes, and then 1 is just a couple of ramps away. So don't let that one confuse you. D is the big one that's spread all over the place, but it's really not that bad. 2, 3, and 4 are all, and the capture point are all accessible via the same set of ramps, really. And S6 is way back there in the back. That'll take you into the 2 room. Don't get confused by the 2 room. Don't get hung up in there. And then Gen 1 is way down at the bottom. You can see capture points pretty easily on everything except C. A is exposed. D is exposed. B is sort of exposed, and you have the right angle. It's on the western side, so if you're spawning in, say from the north side, trying to get visual on B to be able to try and katana it or something like that, you're going to have to go probably to A and then hit it, because if you come down, you're moved toward the back of it. If you're spawning on the south side, you can either go toward A or D, or go straight toward B. North side, you can try and go straight toward B. I think south side has more options just because it has the 2 bases down here rather than the 1. D's not that far away though, so it's not too bad. But that pretty much covers the map. There's a lot going on, and I don't really expect it to survive to game release in the state that it's in, but we'll see how that goes. But it's been in the map rotation for a while, so I wanted to go ahead and do a review of it and show you kind of where everything is and how to move around on it. The places kind of to be careful getting hung up in. So, see you guys out on the field. Hot damn out.